Welcome back, everybody. Dr. Medic here. It's June. You know what that means. Actually, you probably don't. Let me explain. I was going through my catalog and I realized that last year in June I made a video called New Weapon Set Ideas, or something along those lines. This is a super unique idea because it's not just individual weapons, but rather new weapon sets, which used to be a thing a long time ago. That was a part 1, and I originally planned to do part 2 and part 3 in the near future of that video. Like every 3 to 4 months. I don't know, I was going to do part 2 in like October or something, and then maybe part 3 in early 2025. That didn't happen, as I came up with a couple other ideas I wanted to cover instead, with the exception of September 2024, and I just didn't want to rush out a video, to be completely honest with you, so I just took that month off, and then I continued with a bunch of new ideas, and I kind of just forgot about it. It looks like it's been a year. What a great time to make a mini tradition. Part 1 came out on June 10th, 2024. Part 2, if it comes out on time, which it should. I'm starting this video in January, but I got school and sports, so hopefully it comes out on time. Should come out on June 10th, 2025, and then part 3, I'm sure you see the pattern. For those who don't fully understand this video concept, I take 3 classes in Team Fortress 2, and I make weapon sets for them. This is a new primary, new secondary, and melee weapon intended to synergize with one another. The goal isn't to just throw 3 random weapons together and call it a day, but rather have them work off one another or serve a similar purpose to one another, like weapon sets tend to do. The original video comprised of Heavy, Engineer, and Sniper. If you're interested in those classes and what my dumbass came up with, go check that video out. It's still up, obviously. This video will be Scout, Demoman, and Medic. Hey, it's the comp format without Soldier. There is no particular order I had to go in, but this video will be Scout, Medic, and ending it off with Demoman, so if you want to see a specific class, I will have timestamps for that class, and then the slot of the weapon I am currently talking about. I'd love it if you watch the whole video, but I understand some of you made a class and don't care what I have to say about the rest of them. With this long-ass introduction out of the way, let's go look at Scout's primary weapon. Scout, my boy. Scout is my 3rd most played class in TF2, just behind Demoman and Soldier. It was my number 1 for something like 8 years, so my mind was racing with ideas for this quick bastard. There's so many avenues you could take for making a Scout weapon set, but most have been done already. This is why I decided to take a slightly different approach. I was sitting there thinking, how can I make Scout more like a Scout in the militaristic sense, more like a support class? First, give them weapons that actually aid in supporting. There's the Mad Milk in the Fan of War for sure, but no one in the entirety of TF2 uses the Fan of War outside of Man vs. Machine except for me, and the Mad Milk is often used selfishly anyway. Yeah, it can help support your team, but shut up. So I wanted to touch on this. The second part was a little bit more of a selfish desire. I love projectile-based weapons. It's why Soldier and Demoman are my most played classes, especially Demoman. It's just satisfying when you get that perfect hit and do a ton of damage. That flat 100 or that 131 with loose cannon specifically, because I'm a loose cannon main, not a demo main. I love it. However, all of Scout's weapons are hit scan, in the primary slot that is. So that was my second objective, a bit more of a personal objective, but an objective nonetheless. This is why today I introduce to you the Scout Liner. I know, amazing name. I came up with this one in like 3 seconds and didn't feel like coming up with anything new because I thought it was funny enough. The weapon does as implied. It fires a projectile that moves at 3,000 hammer units per second, or the same speed as the Wrapped Assassin, Ornament, Sandman, Ball, Cleaver, Man Melter, Flare, etc. Within about 1,024 hammer units, the same distance where the Thompson 6000 also drops off its Cloak and Uber Drain ability, or about the distance of the 2 Fort Bridge, it will outline enemies that are directly hit by it. This is akin to the outline you see on players and objectives like the payload cart or intelligence briefcase upon spawning in. Though I'm thinking more like this is what it would be when they're in front of you and you have a direct line of sight. However, behind walls, it'd be more like a faint outline that would be a little bit difficult to track, almost more like a team-colored aura when behind surfaces. It will apply this debuff for 4 seconds at close range, dropping down to just 1 second near max distance. However, getting a headshot will automatically apply 2 seconds to the timer on both ends, 3 seconds at near max range and 6 seconds up close. This weapon will have the same system as the Huntsman to determine whether headshots or not. This would make Scout more of a scout in the literal sense. I thought this could be potentially a cool way to shake up the getting in people's faces and hitting them with that 104 style of gameplay, instead of taking more of a support role to effectively ping enemies like we're in Verdansk. It could be used to follow up on your own enemies, tracking their movements, though I guess it could be seen as kind of a crutch, sure. But I think it properly counterbalances by being a weaker projectile-based weapon. I'm not exactly sure how much damage I think it should do. I think the Thompson's level of damage is a little too low, but maybe it can do up to about 90. So a 50% ramp up instead of the 75% ramp up that all other shotguns have, or maybe a little bit less, but it would do more damage at a range, obviously, since it's just one pellet, or one projectile rather. I thought about the possibility of also this being a secondary weapon opposed to a primary weapon, being like a flintlock pistol or maybe in the other direction a ray gun, but I'm going to stick to the primary replacement for this video specifically since I want a weapon that diverges heavily from the standard scattergun that isn't the shortstop, as every other shotgun that Scout has kind of feels the same. Sure, you have the Force of Nature, which I think it diverts enough from the stock scattergun, but it's still within the same vein. But like I said, the shortstop is really the only one that differentiates itself heavily. Back on track, we kind of went on a little tangent there. The Scout Liner, while it has a cheesy name, I think would be a solid addition to Scout's kit. It may need a little bit more tweaking, such as possibly having another upside to complement it. I think Mark for Death would be a bit too extreme, and a slowdown would be kind of redundant because of the existence of the Sandman. Maybe some form of reward system, such as getting health back on outlying enemies killed, whether it's you killing them or your teammate. Maybe like 25 health or so for marking the enemy and getting them killed. Or it could be like 25 health if you kill them, and then maybe 15 health or something akin to that, 13 health if it is a teammate. There would still be a bit of undeserved health gain or cheese potential, but I think all in all, something like this could work since it directly benefits your team, even if you're using it as sort of a selfish player. And plus that 25 health that you get for having the enemies get killed is never going to really make a major difference, since it's going to have sort of the Fan of War Mark for Death system, where you can only mark one enemy at a time. So I don't think you can really abuse this, but you'll get a little bit something back. Maybe it could be a speed boost or something like that too. Let me know what you guys think. What else could be added to this weapon, or maybe it should just get scrapped altogether. It's a bit of a mess, I won't lie, but I think this could be a potentially cool idea, especially the actual projectile portion. You could work something in with that. A lot of people have mentioned the idea of like a pitching machine sort of item for Scout. I don't know. Anyway, let's go look at the secondary for this weapon set. I'm going to be completely honest with you, I'm not even going to pretend. The secondary idea for this video was pretty difficult for me. I couldn't really think of something perfect, you know. I wanted to keep something with a similar theme, but it was very difficult. I thought about the possibility of an invisibility drink that would allow you to sneak past enemies, though there are so many issues with that. One, it's very similar to Bonk. Two, if you use it with a scattergun, it's just ridiculous. And three, there's just too much cheese potential, so I don't think that's the best idea. Maybe a Mad Milk-esque weapon that had the same upside as the primary. It outlined players instead of giving health back similar to the Mad Milk. While I think that could be a neat idea, for the set itself it's kind of redundant since that's what the primary does. Might have to make a footnote of that idea though. For the secondary, I decided to go with a far more simple idea, a more simple route, and make Scout more of a scout, going into more of that scout support role, using a concept that was already in Team Fortress Classic and was meant to appear in Team Fortress 2, the Massachusetts Man Bag. Okay, another case of being creatively bankrupt when it comes to naming things specifically. What is the Massachusetts Man Bag? Well, it's a backpack. It's a very simple item. This weapon allows Scout to store additional health and ammo and then distribute said health and ammo to his teammates similar to the TFC counterpart. If you play Team Fortress Classic, you know what I'm talking about. This can allow you to passively support your team as you run around the map, picking up dead players' ammo packs and faraway health packs to bring back to your teammates. Is there grief potential? I suppose, though I generally think most scouts wouldn't even bother using this weapon to screw you over, since there's better ways to do that. Sure, you could steal a health pack at full health instead of at 124 health, but I don't really see that being a big problem. The grief potential is so minimal with this weapon that I don't think it's a problem. I think the supportive element is going to come into play way more. This weapon could be good for being a team player akin to Mad Milk. To sweeten the deal, it also comes with a 15 max health bonus, bring that 125 up to 140, as well as a 20% healing from all sources. Now, this one I'm a little bit iffy with. I thought about also maybe the idea of more primary ammo. I even thought of the idea of more secondary ammo until I realized that this was supposed to be a secondary. Not 100% sure what I want to do with that, but for now I think a 20% healing from all sources could be a good upside. The 15 health is obvious, 15 more health. You survive an extra melee hit, pipe and a bat hit. You got more health. It's pretty good. Though the 20% health from sources isn't just helpful for you, but for your teammates also. You pick up more health from health packs, meaning it requires less health to fill your meter. It's sort of a meter system. I think I wrote it in the description. Basically, the idea is that you can carry maybe like 1 to 2 large ammo packs and health packs, or something equivalent to that, and you could distribute these in small little health packs and ammo packs. But basically, you give out more than you take in. That's sort of the idea. The original idea I had for this weapon, it wasn't the same weapon, but this slot wasn't very good, which is why this item I wanted to promote more of a supportive role. It can be used with any weapon due to its passive upsides, but it excels when it's paired with the Scout Liner, really putting the team into Team Fortress. My god, that was corny. I apologize. But anyway, this weapon is meant to just, once again, it's supposed to be a support item. It has a passive upside, so there's reason to use it outside of using it in the set. I think it would work. I don't think it would be meta, but it could be a pretty cool weapon nonetheless. I've been rambling on for too long. If you've been watching me, you know that's just kind of my deal. Sorry about that. Let's go look at the melee weapon. Scout's melee slot. Pretty much everything has been done at this point. He just has so many melee weapons to begin with. The Bat, the Sandman, Summon Stick, Atomizer, Boston Basher, Phantom War, Raptor Assassin, and Candy Cane? That's 8 weapons. That's almost Medic's whole kit worth of items in a single slot. In fact, if you get rid of melees, that's exactly how many he has. 4 syringe guns, 4 mediguns. Well, Scout has the same amount of weapons just in his melee slot. Differing melee weapons, that is. Hell, if you count the Holy Mackerel, actually, with its fish kill system and its on-hit system and the fact it can kind of detect Dead Ringer spies, it's not exactly like stock, that's 9. To be honest, I wouldn't even want a new melee weapon for Scout. He's got enough. And plus, I'm going for a support role sort of deal. The Candy Cane works under the support idea with the fact that it drops med packs, the Phantom War with its extra damage, if you know how to use it, and the Sandman, while terrible, does make it a tad easier for your team to take care of them. Unless your opponent, of course, knows how to mash strafe to nullify it. Despite this, I have to offer something, or I feel like I should offer something. I was gonna come into this segment and be like, I'm not even gonna do a melee weapon for Scout because Scout has too many, but I came up with something eventually. I decided to go simple just because almost everything has been done. Enough stalling. I introduced to you the Rally Stick. I know. I really outdid myself with this naming scheme here. This set was never supposed to be 100% revolutionary worthy, but I think it works. This melee weapon took me a while to come up with. Not because it's mechanically complex, but rather because I didn't want to retread old ground when it comes to Scout melee weapons. Really tough to do that when he already has 8, or 9 if you count the Holy Mackerel. Anyway, I think I managed to make something rather solid as a team support or support-focused weapon. The Rally Stick is more of a staff that Scout can wield. This weapon would mostly be support-based as it revolves around objectives, which brings me to the main draw of this weapon, the Rally Stick. After getting a kill with the staff, while doing the objective, or just finishing the objective in general, read that backwards, that's on me. It will ground anyone within the approximately 450 hammer unit area, which is the same as the conch buff banner battalion's backup radius. Guess I could have just said banners. 20 health and a short 1 second 25% damage resistance to all sources. This also applies to you. Unlikely to completely turn the fight, but assuming it's a rather large team fight, or even a 2v2, 3v3, 2v4, whatever, something more of like a scuffle, it will give them some extra health and a small resistance to immediate incoming fire, potentially saving their life. Who knows? 2 seconds felt a little bit too long, and anything more than a 25% resistance may have been a bit excessive. It was meant to be just kind of a small little bonus, nothing too crazy. The second upside has Scout gaining a 3-second speed boost after the objective is capped, whether it be the intel, control points, payload checkpoint, whatever, giving a small reward and a bit of momentum moving towards the next objective. That's the idea anyway. It can be used for anything really. If you want to run across the map, run back to spawn, you can do that too. Finally, a 25% damage bonus while currently doing the objective, whether it be capturing the point, payload, or holding the intelligence. To go with that killing someone while doing the objective reward base stat. This increases base damage from 35 to 44, which is enough to 3 hit light classes instead of taking 4. To offset these downsides, it comes with a 20% swing speed penalty, generally make it worse for combat, as well as a 10% damage vulnerability while not doing the objective, bringing Scout's effective HP to 113 without the backpack in the set, and while not doing the objective also. If you are doing the objective, you do not receive the penalty, and 126, 1 extra health compared to stock Scout, if you do use the Massachusetts Man Bag along with it. The damage vulnerability, like I said, does not apply when you're holding the intelligence, contesting or capturing a control point, payload, or holding the pastime jack, etc. You understand. Basically, doing the objective. I said it a million times already. I think you get it. It's another one of those work-in-progress ideas where fine-tuning may be a requirement in the future. Remember, folks, I want to make it clear, this miniseries is more of a fun and brainstorming type deal. None of these ideas are going to get picked up by Valve. Eric Smith ain't going to go, hey, that's a pretty shitty idea concept, let's put that in the game. Of course not. No, I guess that's what he does when he picks a few workshop submissions. Sorry, that was kind of out of pocket. I'm just playing. Relax. Just kidding, dude. It was a facetious joke. Calm down. Now, what I'm about to say is probably not going to be adhered to anyway. Whatever. These concepts are just fun and to throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks. I think this could be somewhat of a cool idea. Some things need to be worked out. You know, I don't have a server. I don't know how to do plugins. Alright? I can't make these weapons to see how they would actually function. Somebody might be able to exploit it. It might be crap. Who knows? Not 100% sure. But I think this could be sort of a cool support-based weapon. Despite this, I think it would be a solid melee, and it could join the other billion melee weapons that Scout already has. Whew, that was long-winded. With Scout done, that brings us to Medic. Let's see what wacky stuff we got up next. Actually, to be honest, I think this next set here is going to be a bit more cohesive. I think a lot more of you will like it. Let's see. Medic, the sole dedicated healer in the game. He's a tough one for sure, as you have to walk a very, very fine line, otherwise you run the risk of having other YouTubers make reaction videos about it. At least this isn't a balance change idea video. I'd be putting my head in the guillotine for that one. Jokes aside, Medic truly is a class that is tough, as you want to keep the core design of the class in mind, but not encroach on any existing ideas. Despite the hurdle, I think I've cracked the code and come up with a somewhat unique idea that isn't just game-shattering. For his primary, instead of making a whole new weapon class, which was kind of an idea that was floating in my head, it was actually a helmet. You don't even need to know about that. Or copying the syringe guns, I decided to make a direct crossbow alternative, the Chancellor's Pharmacy. This is a medieval crossbow-esque weapon that replaces the syringe gun for Medic. Just like the Crusader's crossbow, this weapon is intended to improve the survivability of your teammates by using arrows to buff them, essentially. Yes, that's a weird way to put it, but as you can tell, I am intentionally using very vague verbiage. I'm sure if you've been watching me for any amount of time, you know that I do that quite frequently. So what does it actually do? Okay, it's actually on the left side of the screen. I'm sure you already read through it. I should first state the firing speed, the reload speed, the projectile speed, basic functions mimic the Crusader's crossbow. Don't want to go too in depth with that. I think it's pretty obvious, but maybe not to some people. For a unique function, instead of granting teammates health, it will increase both their movement speed via the speed boost condition and increase their firing speed by 25% for 3 seconds. It also has a 200% magazine size bonus using 3 arrows, or allowing 3 arrows to be stored at once instead of just 1. For downsides, it is identical to the Crusader's crossbow. The inability to headshot, 75% less reserve ammo, because obviously if you had 150 in reserve, that's pretty crazy. But it also comes with a 50% damage penalty. I think it's pretty warranted. This weapon would be pretty busted if you had 3 full damage arrows to fire in rapid succession as medic. I mean, what? They can get you up to like 225 damage in a second as medic? That's ridiculous. That would actually be a pretty cool idea for like sniper or heavy or, you know what, I might have to hold on to that. But for medic specifically, it's a 50% damage penalty, so it cuts his damage in half. I think it's pretty appropriate. This weapon is just meant to be an alternative to the standard crossbow gameplay. Listen, unless something straight up overpowered is released into the game in some alternative universe, the Crusaders is going to be the best option 99 out of 100 times. It is near impossible to make a true competitor with the Crusaders crossbow. I hope that's understood. Unless you want to neuter the crossbow altogether, then maybe you could have a better chance of making something that actually competes with it. But unless you just want to completely destroy the fabric of Team Fortress 2, deleting the coconut PNG, you're not going to really touch where the Crusaders sits. It's going to be always on the throne. However, I think the Chancellors can at least earn a spot on the roster. Maybe not a starter, but he's like first off the bench type of thing. Increasing pre-game setup speed, or helping teammates reach the front lines a tad quicker, as well as just buffing them a bit before they engage an enemy. I don't imagine it will be any more powerful than what the Crusader's crossbow can do, which, I remind you, can completely nullify the damage pretty much that the enemy did. This just makes it a little harder from the hit, and sure, it also does increase their firing speed a bit for 3 seconds. This is another weapon where the specifics need some working out. Once again, not a modder, nor do I have thousands of subscribers or willing participants or unwilling participants to test this idea on. I'd be willing to find a middle ground, but I think this idea could work. I think this could be a pretty neat idea. It could be a good alternative. I think the damage, despite having a damage penalty, could be pretty good. I don't think it would be a battle medic weapon, but it could help your teammates out. Anyway, enough rambling. Let's go look at the Medigun replacement, which sort of follows a similar structure, but not 100%. I'll get into that. The Medigun, one of, if not the most integral weapon to TF2's identity. Well, it's up there. You got contenders like the minigun, rocket launcher, sandwich, golden frying pan, probably golden frying pan above all else. I think even people outside of TF2 know what the golden frying pan is. But anyway, there's many ideas that can be had for the Medigun. A beacon where teammates around you heal just like you're a walking talking dispenser. It's a pretty cool idea. A dual-headed Medigun that can heal multiple targets. Pretty neat. Medigun that shoots a straight beam with insane range like that one Black Ops 4 zombie specialist. Yeah, that could be pretty cool as well. A Medigun with increased overheal. Surprised they haven't done it. Well, I think they might have in a closed beta. Not 100% sure about that. Anyway, there's so many ideas, so many possibilities. And by the way, with the exception of the last one, these are all my ideas I've had at some point. I doubt I'm the only one. The idea that I'm talking about right now, this one, the one that this segment's going to be about, follows more of a speed movement buffing line of thinking, similar to the primary, and as you soon learn, the melee also. The name of this weapon is the Adrenaline Junkie. I did not write it on the function of the weapon, but it is intended to work similar to the Vaccinator with 4 charges that can be popped as long as you have adequate charge. Unlike the Vaccinator though, you'll be required to stay linked to your patient for now 3 seconds, which is because of a 3-second duration rather than the 2.5-second duration. If you somehow don't know, you don't have to continuously heal your patient when you pop a Vaccinator Uber or a Vaccinator bubble. Just as long as you were attached to them or tethered to them while popping the bubble, they will get the benefits. This is likely common knowledge for 95% of you, but it took me a long time to learn this as I just never realized, and you might be one of those people. As soon as you pop, they have the bubble for 2.5 seconds, even if you untether. This is not how the Adrenaline Junkie works. You must stay linked up. Sorry if that's confusing. Basically, 4 mini charges, 3-second Uber, must stay tethered. The only actual blue text to this weapon is a 67% faster Uber charge rate, which is the same as the Vaccinator. For red text, there are 3 pretty notable downsides. A 20% heal penalty, meaning it only heals at about 19 health per second, opposed to 24 and I think 58 instead of 72 when you account for crit heals. It's pretty significant, and I think it's a pretty good downside for balancing the upsides this weapon has, as you will soon see. Also, a slight 20% overheal Uber charge rate penalty similar to the Vaccinator, making it a tad worse for pocketing. And finally, a 10% movement speed penalty, which also will go into the upsides of this weapon, you'll see, while active. Only while active, so only when you have this weapon deployed. You'll still gain the movement speed buff that all Mediguns since 2016 and the quick fix since even longer grant you while you're tethered to someone that is faster than you. Instead of just applying to Pyros using the Power Jack, Demo Knights, and Scouts, it applies to those as well as other medics not using this weapon or that don't have it active, Spies, and even Engineer Pyros and Snipers, because it brings your movement speed while active, just while active, from 107% to just 97%, which is 3% slower than Sniper, Engineer, and Pyro. That's all great general stuff. Now we move on to the primary function of the Adrenaline Junkie, the Uber. It doesn't offer resistance bubble like the Vaccinator does, instead just buffing them to all hell without directly increasing survivability or increasing their base damage, so it does not encroach on what the Kritzkrieg and stock minigun do. 3 seconds of speed boost condition, which like I said, it kind of applies to that downside, so you offset that one downside it has. It applies to you and your patient. A 33% reload and firing speed bonus, some additional jump height, and 20% damage returned as health. That last one especially was the original plan I had for this weapon, or rather the first stat I had actually come up with for this weapon, believe it or not, but I feel like this creates a more chaotic style of gameplay, more so than other Mediguns, maybe akin to the Kritzkrieg. This weapon's viability does more so depend on the skill of your patient. Though, if used correctly, this could turn mini scrimmages, tides, to your favor, similar to the Vaccinator. It would just act more like a blitz or offensive weapon instead of a defensive weapon. The Vaccinator is much better on defense. The Adrenaline Junkie would be the alternative for offense. Once again, I thought maybe a standard Ubercharge system could work, but I feel like the mini blitz would be more effective, and it could be a little bit cooler of an idea. You get 12 seconds, but it's like in 3-second bursts. I don't know, that would be neat. Applying more constant pressure like the Vaccinator does. But, like I said, with a little bit less of a defensive focus and more of an offensive one. Segmenting it into chunks. Anyway, that is it for the Adrenaline Junkie. Tell me what you think about this one down below. Also, the next weapon is a melee, and I couldn't really decide on which concept I want to go with, so I will be presenting both in the next segment. One is basically a dumbed down version of the other, but I'm not sure which one I like more. Simpler one would probably fit better amongst his other weapons, but the more convoluted one is kind of unique. I'm saying too much. Let's just go take a look at the next weapon. Gonna take a quick side tangent. This is really out of the blue, and I don't even really need to tell you guys, but I like to be honest on this channel. I want to get it off my chest, so here it is. It's not super important. If you want to skip ahead like a minute 30, 2 minutes, just get to the actual segment, you can, but like I said, I want to get this off my chest and make sure that this is understood. You see, I actually can't play TF2 for about 3 months at time of recording, because during my baseball season, which some of you may know about, some may not, I'm a collegiate baseball player. Specifically on February 3rd, I broke my thumb on my dominant hand. Yeah, it was a really stupid injury, playing on a turf field. I believe it was raining the day before, maybe 2 days before, super slick. Fell, tried to catch myself, and ended up fracturing my thumb. Got a little displacement fracture, and this injury was actually season-ending. Thank God for the medical red shirt, though, right? But it was actually bad enough to require surgery. I have 2 screws in my thumb. Why am I even telling you this? Well, because I can't throw, I can't hit till mid to late May, but that also means I can't grasp on my mouse. And if I want to get this video done in adequate time, because I want to get this video out so I can be on schedule instead of waiting until, I don't know, June and being a little bit behind schedule, I have to reuse old footage. Yeah, I know this is really stupid, but I wanted to tell you this because I can't get new footage. I didn't gather enough footage pre-injury, mostly due to my crappy internet, so I have to use old footage to get this done in a timely manner, like I said. I didn't need to tell you this, but I wanted to be honest just in case you noticed. I'm not being lazy, just crippled. Okay, bit extreme, not literally, but you get what I mean. That's enough rambling. Back to the actual segment here. I told you that there are 2 weapons I'm going to be presenting for this segment. That's somewhat true, but the weapons are very close in functionality, just with different names. I will present the more complex one first, and the simpler design second. I don't believe what I'm presenting to you will turn the Ubersaw meta on its head, but like the Chancellor, I think it could get a roster spot and a sizable amount of playing time. Not running bench like the Vitasaw, but maybe not the starter, you know what I'm saying? For the more wacky, zany, downright bizarre idea, something that I wouldn't present to most people, but because this is my video and my channel, I can do whatever the hell I want, we have what I call the Painkiller. Cute, ain't it? Wrong. The Painkiller is a multi-use melee weapon for Medic. It has a primary function, which is enacted via the primary fire, and a secondary use case as well. The primary function is very simple. It will automatically heal your teammates for 100% of your health. I should add that this works like the half Zatoichi, which can overheal your teammates. It's rather strong. The secondary fire is much more of a selfish use case, and is actually the main idea I had for the weapon in the first place. You use mouse 2, and you will turn the syringe onto yourself. It's not like a weird, over-animated thing. It's just like you put it into your arm or something. I don't know. It's similar to a stim from Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019 and Cold War, if you played those games. If we got any COD fans in the audience, this will grant Medic 1 second of mini charge. What does this mini charge do? Well, it gives Medic 1 second of 75% damage resistance and a speed boost with a 2-second cooldown between uses instead of 0.8 seconds. This is so it can't be easily spammed, but it could help you evade capture in a pinch. It is meant to basically give you a window of time to plan your escape and potentially brush off 1 or 2 attacks while you make said escape. It does come at a cost, however. Of course, it has to come at a cost. That would be insanely overpowered if it didn't. That being that both the primary and secondary fire, when used on yourself or on your teammates, will require either an Uber sacrifice or a blood sacrifice. The primary fire will require 15% Uber charge per use, and the secondary fire, the actual main function of the weapon, will require 20%. This ensures it isn't spammed for free health buffs or making you near invincible. If you didn't have adequate Uber charge, blood will be required to use the functions. It is a 1% Uber charge to 1.5 health ratio. You will use any Uber that you do have, and the rest will be paid in health, unless you got enough Uber to cover the cost, I guess. Which maxes out at 23 health for the primary fire, risking your ass to heal your teammates. Yes, you gain it back through passive health regen, but you're still dropping your health and becoming more vulnerable. It is 30 health, or 1/5 of your HP, if you wish to use the secondary fire on yourself without any Uber charge. This is especially risky if you're using it to actually get out of a sticky situation and you don't have any Uber charge. Yes, you could also potentially kill yourself if you're not paying attention. This would give the weapon both a selfish function, potentially saving your life in a hairy situation, as well as having a more team-oriented one, buffing your teammates immensely. It also comes with a 60% damage penalty, reducing the base damage of the melee from 65 to 26, making it worse at killing. This is mostly just so it has an actual downside when you choose not to use the functions of the weapon, the primary or the secondary function of the weapon. I could see issues with higher level medic players, so The numbers may need to be changed a little bit, maybe the resistance being reduced to just 50 instead of 75, or a higher health drain ratio for the secondary attack. I really thought about that one. Maybe it's like a 2-to-1 for the secondary attack, so it's 40 health instead of just 30. That's a much bigger jump, and it could, be a little bit more of a real risk. Though I feel like the health drain, regardless of whether it's 30 or 40, and the uber drain help keep this weapon in check, as it requires substantial investment and downtime on the medic's part. Plus, it isn't the uber saw. I mean, that's the worst downside, am I right? Right, medics, high five, yeah. Like I said, this is my more way out there idea, you know what I'm saying? Which is why I made 2 versions of this weapon specifically. Other versions, I talked a little bit about tweaks. This one I made a separate weapon because I just knew if I was to give this to the council of TF2 players, I'd probably be hanged. So I even gave it a name change to distinguish it from the original weapon. This one is called the Blood Exchange. It ditches the more controversial save yourself aspect of the weapon, which I know TF2 players hate for medic. It still buffs teammates to 100% of their health, but it's slightly different wording. It doesn't overheal them like the previous version. That is primarily because the penalties are significantly softer as well, and like I said, there's no mouse too. So it now just restores them to full. For downsides though, it takes a page out of the more complex version's book and requires 20 of your own health to perform the Blood Exchange. Maybe it should be 25, but I think 20 sounds good. Hence the name. This is so you can't easily spam it, maybe once or twice, but you run the risk of accidentally getting to critically low health if you use it 3 to 5 times. I'm thinking for this less extreme version, it doesn't actually damage you if you're at 20 health or below. It will allow complete freedom to spam this weapon, but at the obvious risks of being 2 pistol shots or even 1 pistol shot at certain health thresholds from being in the dirt. It follows a similar line to the Crusader's crossbow, and some people may say it's a worse version of the Crusader's crossbow. Yeah, to an extent it is, though this one has a faster health distribution, restores full HP, even on Demoman, Pyro, Soldiers, and Heavies, and does so at any range. Well, okay, melee range, but you get what I mean. When you're up close to the Crusader's crossbow, it doesn't do as much, but this one, as long as they're 48 hammer units away from you, you're good to go. You don't need to get a cross map to get the full effect, making it potentially a better option for higher health classes you are nearby or pocketing, especially in a lower defcon. It does come at the slight 20% damage penalty as well, for the same reason as the painkiller, but I didn't feel like it needed to be as harsh, so it does 52 damage, only 13 less than stock. This version, personally, I feel more confident in pitching just because it's less extreme and it fits it more into the arsenal of medic, I guess. So if I were to appear in front of an audience, including, I don't know, After Breakfast and his Discord server, The What, Fish Stick on a Stick, Zesty Jesus, and Lucid, like they would ever be in the same room together, I'd probably propose the latter so that I will only be beaten half to death instead of seeing God. Okay, a little less decisive. I'm kidding. I actually do like all 5 of these creators, but you get what I mean. Still would be probably a shit show if I was to actually present this to any other YouTuber. Anyway, that caps off the very long medic segment. I'm looking at it right now. I'm 10 minutes deep. It might actually be 9 once I get done with the editing. I don't know why I'm telling you that. Let's go see what Demoman has in store. This should be interesting. This should be real interesting. Demolition Man. Good dude. Good class, too. Demoman I decided to take a different approach for. I originally had 2 ideas, one a little bit more fleshed out than the other, but I thought, screw it, these ideas would be okay on their own, but let's combine them and make something a little bit more interesting. One idea was a more long-range option for a demo primary. Yeah, you got the lock and load, sure, okay. And you got the sticky bomb launcher, specifically the quickie bomb launcher. Talked extensively about that last one, the Demoman segment of my TF2 underrated weapons video. If you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend you check it out, or at least check out the alternate segment that I made later on. I know what some of you want to say, too. Demoman is a mid-range class, giving him a long-range weapon would put a hole in the space-time continuum. Don't worry. I considered that, you'll see. You'll just have to wait. The other idea was a snowball-esque weapon that continues to feed on itself. Not like the Bizarre Bargain I kind of thought I had a little bit, but the thing was is neither was interesting enough on their own, but together they can make one hell of a team. So that's why I introduced to you the Ballad's Bombardier, death to the MPLA type weapon.
Our journey to victory has begun! Death to the MPLA!
We got a wall of text to go through, so strap in or strap on if you're a freak like that. I wanted this weapon to be a pestering weapon akin to the sticky launcher. This is why I have the white text up here. Similar to the sticky bomb launcher and loose cannon, holding down mouse 1 will charge up the weapon for up to 2 seconds. This will increase the projectile speed up to something like 75%. It basically increases the distance the bomb can go. I'm not 100% sure exactly how much it should increase because I haven't been able to test it, but I want it to be more in the lock and load, so 75% sounds about right. That is just the secondary gimmick to the weapon anyway. The main gimmick of the Bombardier is a 50% ammo pool gained on kill, as well as a 200% clip size, in quotes, bonus. Meaning there are 12 bombs loaded at once instead of just 4. I know, crazy, right? Yes, this weapon will allow you to store 12 bombs in the chambers, and then gain 6 immediately for every kill you get, which is the snowball effect I was telling you about. Keep hitting your shots, keep getting rewarded with more ammo. You do not need to reload. In fact, there is 0 reload necessary, period, for this weapon. This weapon is incapable of doing it. You'll never see the animation. Though this weapon will need some drawbacks, obviously, which is why I wrote it down here in red. I'm not stupid, come on now. First, remember how I said I balanced it so that it wouldn't be too overpowered at range? Well, I didn't want to give it a flat damage penalty that made it too strong at range while making it weak up close. That just makes nobody happy. Instead, it has a flat 100 damage, but as you charge the weapon up, the damage is increased by 10% or so every half second, down to 40% if you charge for the full 2 seconds. This ensures that at maximum ranges, you aren't able to two-shot anyone outside of beginner spies and kunai spies, as well as, I guess, Sandman scouts. But they deserve it anyway. This wouldn't outright stop every instance of cheese potential, but I think the distance itself would be enough to balance this weapon out. This would just make sure that it isn't too overpowered at ranges. And also, so it wouldn't take over the de facto building destroyer being the lock and load. And the other stick bomb launchers, I suppose. It also comes with a 75% reduced ammo from ammo pickups to make the player respect each individual bomb a little bit more. You still get more from boxes and stuff, but significantly less. To really drive home that point, we're skipping ahead just a bit. It has a 100% reserve ammo penalty, so 12 bombs, that's all you got. Ammo through sources are far less effective because there is a penalty for dispensers as well, as it's just to make sure that it doesn't become too OP on defense specifically. I could imagine Demoman just sitting next to a dispenser, looking up at 20 to 30 degrees and launching nades across the map. So I think this penalty is in order to make sure that this is at least mitigated. Finally, just a 25% firing speed penalty, increasing the attack interval from every 0.6 seconds to just under 3/4 of a second at 0.72 seconds, and a 25% damage penalty on grounded grenades, slowing spam down just a little bit. I think this could be a fun alternative to the grenade launcher that allows you to pester enemies from far pretty effectively, as well as potentially snowballing the other team. You don't miss, more carnage ensues. Like I said, originally I was thinking just to have a pestering weapon and maybe a snowball weapon as well, like the 2 separate weapons, but I think this makes it a bit more... I keep using the word interesting, but that's really the only adjective I can think of. Is interesting an adjective? I don't even care anymore. It's a weapon, man. It would be kind of fun. It'd be different. Now for something a little more simple, we got the secondary for Demoman. I suggest we take a step back from the convoluted mess of many of my other pitches, go over something that isn't as complex as California Freeway. This idea I have for the sticky bomb launcher is not unique. I'm not claiming it is. God damn it, I didn't see that. You made that up. It's in your head. It's a weapon that already exists, just in a prior game. In fact, it actually existed in Team Fortress 2 in the early development stages. I'm talking 2006 era, when some of the classes didn't even have emblems, and I think Pyro still made normal sound. It was a weird time. It's a very simple item. No, it's not the Dynamite pack. I think that would be pretty cool. I know some of you were thinking that, but how would that even work? Would it be a secondary replacement? Would that make sense for replacing the Sticky Bomb launcher? Should it be primary replacement? Is it as good as the grenade? I don't know, whatever. And no, it is not the Det pack from TFC. That would be pretty cool, but if the Det pack was brought to TF2, our reality as we know would cease to exist, as every TF2 player in existence, or at least the ones on Twitter, would have the world's biggest hissy fit, just barely topping the last time Grouch made a TF2 rebalance video. The weapon I'm talking about is the OG, original, classic, I can't think of nothing, pipe bomb launcher. The pipe bomb launcher was featured in the second TF2 trailer, but was subsequently cut before the game ever launched. I'm honestly surprised they never made an unlock to act like it, but here we are 17 and a half years later. Honestly, I can't think of a reason they wouldn't add it. It's kind of a cool idea, but it made it into a Dr. Medic TF2 video, man. If it wasn't cool, it wouldn't be here, am I right? Yeah, high five. The pipe bomb launcher has one string of blue text and a little bit of red text. There's gotta be a little bit there. The upside is a 20% larger explosion radius. Holy shit, that's a lot. No, it's actually not. Relax. It's only 10% more than it was back between 2009-ish and 2014. It's not as much as it sounds, but it makes the bombs a little bit more deadly. Just brief history. If you don't know, I'm going to be brief. I talked about this in my Demoman's original versus current weapon stats video. I went over there quite a bit. If you don't know, when the game first launched, both rockets and then also just explosions in general, so grenades and sticky bombs, had a square bounding box. The grenades specifically were 132 hammer units, but they eventually made them spherical, and then they upped it to 159 because some edges would be lost, kind of weird. Anyway, that 159 of the grenades would eventually be lowered to 146, which is what the current rocket launcher rockets are, which is 9% larger than what it is today. So it's only 10% more than what it was for a long period of time. So it's not going to be game ending. The world isn't going to end. Or it's not going to be because of this weapon, at least. I can tell you that much. Then there are the downsides. First, a 20% damage penalty on airborne grenades, as it was intended to not be a spam tool, unlike the Sticky Bomb launcher. And I guess the Quickie Bomb launcher, but like I said before, I'll die on this hill. The Quickie Bomb launcher is a sniper, not a spam tool. You are wrong. You're using it wrong, and I hate you. I'm just kidding, I love you. Either way, the pipe bomb launcher is not that. It also has a 25% clip size penalty. Oh, God, what is my blood? Which reduces the max it can hold from 8 to 6. If you can do math, that's pretty straightforward. Those are the upsides and downsides, but the main gimmick, which I've decided to save to the end of the segment for some reason, is the fact that grenades bounce. Mind blown. Similar to stock pipes. This makes it better for reaching nests around corners you couldn't otherwise. I know the common argument will just be, just use the grenade launcher. However, this is still a secondary, so it allows you to stack bombs around angles you normally couldn't, or hit people on points or whatever that you normally couldn't hit. It's supposed to be kind of, you bounce it off the wall and you get it around the corner and you blow people up. It's supposed to be sick, something cool like that. Anyway, it's really simple. It's like the Tomislav minigun situation. There's pros and cons to both, but they aren't completely alien to one another. Just better for some cases and worse for others. Maybe a little bit more extreme than the Tomislav minigun, but close enough. I think you get what I mean. That's the more down-to-earth, simple idea, which I decided to deliver in a very unique way. Sorry, it's a little bit late, and I had an energy drink not that long ago. Which leads us to the last and final segment of this video. It's way longer than I anticipated, but let's wrap it up. We made it, gentlemen. Thank you for staying this far into the video, but we're not done yet. We got one more segment, just one more weapon left. I think you're going to like this one. Let's go right to the chase and talk about the Scottish Blockade. The final Demoman Melee to wrap this whole thing up, to bring this set together. Because remember, this is a weapon set video, not just individual weapons. This is going to be a very bizarre item, so I need you to just stick with me here. This is unlike any other melee in the game. It's very unique, and it's going to be kind of weird, but I'll explain how it works, so I need you to go into this segment with an open mind. Basically, this is a charge-based item instead of being a normal melee. First, the Demoman must do a certain amount of damage with either his primary or secondary to fill up the meter. Preferably, you would be using the Bombardier or the Pipe Bomb Launcher, but I guess it works with anything except for a few weapons, which we'll get into later. The Demoman gets 1% for every 4 damage he deals the players and 8 damage he does the buildings, so the 1-to-2 ratio. Dealing damage to both buildings and players will help fill up this charge meter. As long as he has charge, regardless if it's at 100% or not, similar to the Hitman's Heatmaker, he'll be able to activate this Juggernaut ability. That's what it's called. That's what the charge is called. He will pull out his melee weapon, which could be either activated with mouse 2 or by pressing 3, which will last up to 5 seconds. During this 5-second charge, you'll be immune to all damage coming from the front and receive a 25% resistance from everywhere else. In addition, during this charge thing, as what you'll block crits, you'll get complete knockback resistance, assuming you're getting hit from the front. This includes air blasts and loose cannon cannonballs, but at the same time, you'll also not be able to jump. You will be completely grounded. You can obviously fall off ledges, but you'll hit the ground, you can't jump, nothing of the sort. It will block bullets, fire, explosives, melees, doesn't matter. The only thing that can pierce it is actually the Enforcer. Sticky bombs and pipes will bounce off the shield, with pipes not detonating immediately, so basically you become a wall with this weapon. That's the main gimmick of the item. Then there are 3 downsides to go along with this. First, a flat 25% movement speed penalty while the weapon is deployed. This way you're less mobile while tanking damage for your team. So you really just inherit this Juggernaut ability. It also comes with a flat 50% damage penalty, so shield bashing is less effective. It is meant to be a defensive weapon, not an offensive one. This makes sure that you're using it correctly. Finally, a weird downside, but a necessary one so it doesn't conflict. It's similar to how the base jumper conflicts with backpack items, and so do the banners. It cannot be used with a shield, a real shield, like the Charge and Targe, Tide Turner, and Splendid Screen. You must use it with a launcher. It is meant to be a defensive tool. When coordinating with your team, you can help move up on a specific position, whether it be a sniper's nest, sentry nest, or control point. The Demoman acts as a human shield with his own miniature uber charge that he can use as long as he has enough charge. I want it to be similar to the Gru, where it kind of eats a little bit of your charge as you pull it out, so you can't spam it over and over again. But yes, as long as you have charge, you can pull out this weapon and become an absolute tank. It is unique for sure, so there may be some contention, but I think it would fit in the Demoman's arsenal and the set as a whole. That's it for Demoman's melee weapon. Alright, I'm just messing with you. I'm just kidding. Stop typing for a second. I know you are. I know you just went down to the comment section to tell me how bad of an idea that actually was. Look, Demoman already has so many melee weapons that giving a good faith idea just wasn't in the cards, so I decided to do this joke segment just to screw with people a little bit. I'm sorry. Actually, you know what? I'll tell you this. Here's what I want you to do. Go down to the comment section and leave a timestamp anywhere in this segment, so in this last melee segment, and then comment on the weapon with a strong opinion. Either praise it for its genius, discuss the outrageous reworks within reason, or call it stupid but don't explain exactly why. I want you to be a little bit vague. I kind of just want to see if anybody comments on the idea before the segment finishes. Make sure to leave a timestamp and maybe, I don't know, add a second period to the end of the sentence, so that way I know that you're in the know. This was the only segment that was a complete joke, by the way. Feel free to talk crap about the actual legit other 8 segments, but play along a little bit in this last segment. I don't know, I couldn't think of anything good, so I thought I'd just throw this one in there for fun. With that being finished and done with, thank you for coming by. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for sticking to the end of this video. Don't forget to do what I told you with the last segment, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.